Jungkook was forced to make Jimin see our wide, and no one was prepared for this reality. Jungkook made Jimin cry on their last day together in the military. Not because of a fight, not because of a typical farewell, but due to one decision that shocked and hurt Jimin. As this information began to spread among ARMY, social media exploded with the same question: what really happened between BTS's two youngest members? The incident occurred in an atmosphere that was supposed to be emotional yet warm, a moment leading up to the end of their mandatory military service at the 5th Infantry Division. Jimin, who was known during training as a natural leader and group motivator, and Jungkook, known as the quiet and silently encouraging one, had built an extraordinary bond not just as bandmates, but as soldiers living in harsh discipline and deep solidarity. So when Jimin was seen shedding tears in the final days of their service, many wondered, what could make someone as strong as Jimin cry like that? It turns out, it all started with a personal decision by Jungkook that he kept secret until the last moment. In an informal briefing before their final departure from the camp, Jungkook calmly stated that he would not be returning home with the group. He chose to extend his service by a few weeks to complete a special mission he had volunteered for, a mission that was not mandatory, purely voluntary, and very difficult. Jimin, who at the time assumed they would finish everything together, from start to finish, couldn't hide his shock. He stared at Jungkook for a long time, and in a long silence, his tears began to flow. "Are you serious?" Jimin asked in a hoarse voice, according to testimonies from several soldiers present. Jungkook only nodded, patted his friend on the shoulder, and said, "I want to give back everything we've learned here. This is my way." Jungkook's decision wasn't without reason. Throughout training, he quietly observed the dynamics among the soldiers and realized that many of them would face new challenges in more vulnerable guard posts. He felt that if he could provide just a little extra support, even in the form of morale and presence, it was his most sincere way of serving. He didn't want to be known as a celebrity who went home right after his main duty ended. He wanted to finish the story in a way that felt right to him. Jimin cried not because he felt abandoned, but because he understood the moral weight Jungkook carried. "He never does anything halfway," Jimin said in an official statement a few days later. "I cried out of pride, sadness, and because I know he'll be fine, but I also know I'll miss him every day until we're together again." For ARMY, it was a heartbreaking yet proud moment. In a world often obsessed with luxury and fame, Jungkook's decision stood as a symbol of courage and sincerity. He rejected comfort and chose the harder path for his new friends in the military and for his dignity as an ordinary citizen. It wasn't an impulsive decision. It was one carefully considered, long before the announcement day arrived. The soldiers who witnessed the moment described it as one of the most emotional events they had ever experienced. Some even said the relationship between Jungkook and Jimin was something rarely seen, a friendship built on respect, sacrifice, and true solidarity. Not just coworkers or group mates. One of their drill officers said, "When you saw how Jimin looked at Jungkook that day, you knew they weren't just pop stars. They were brothers." And that was a moment when the whole hall fell silent. No one spoke. Everyone just stood, watched, and felt that pure sincerity. South Korean media, which got a tip-off about the story, also investigated further and confirmed that Jungkook indeed took on an extra assignment in an administrative area near the final training zone, helping with logistics and security supervision, a job that seemed unglamorous but was vital. He did not want exposure and didn't even inform his label or agency before finalizing his decision. It was a personal choice for Jimin. The farewell was harder than he expected. He admitted he had been looking forward to the day they would leave together and return as the duo who had long been the energetic face of BTS. But those tears, he said, weren't a sign of weakness, but a form of gratitude for having a brother like Jungkook. As always, ARMY did not stay silent. The hashtag campaigns #ThankYouJungkook and #WeCryWithJimin dominated global trends in less than 2 hours after the official statement was released. Reaction videos from fans around the world flooded social media, with many expressing admiration for Jungkook's determination and Jimin's emotional depth. One viral comment read, "This isn't a drama. This is proof that the purest hearts sometimes choose the loneliest paths." In many ways, this event serves as a lesson on how loyalty and sacrifice don't always speak loudly. Sometimes they come in the form of silent decisions, like an idol choosing to stay longer for people he only recently met. When Jungkook returns, not just as an idol, but as a man who carved out a chapter of life in ink of courage, Jimin will be the first to welcome him back, with a hug, not tears. And for ARMY, they know one thing for sure. No stage can be greater than the hearts of two friends who protect each other, even in silence. Are you ready to welcome them back? Now, with a story that's more than just about music, AS news of Jungkook making Jimin cry during their final military moments spread to the public. Fans' emotional reactions were overwhelming. Twitter was filled with words of sympathy, TikTok flooded with teary-eyed edits, and YouTube displayed a range of reactions and theories from content creators claiming to analyze Jimin's facial expressions. But behind the emotional storm sweeping the global fandom, an important question arises that we should all reflect on. Did this event really happen? Or are we witnessing a carefully constructed narrative designed to generate sympathy, attention, and, of course, engagement? The initial information about the event did sound convincing. It was said that Jungkook chose to extend his duty to complete a special mission, which triggered Jimin's emotional reaction. But let's be honest, how far can we verify the truth of this story? Did the statement really come from official sources? Or was it just a fragment of news developed from cropped videos, incomplete screenshots, or even unverifiable fan accounts? We live in an era where emotions are easily sold and often capitalized upon. This story, two global idols who care for each other, crying over parting and sacrifice, is perfect fuel for the algorithm. But are we, as spectators, going to be swept away by the narrative without questioning its origin? Have you ever asked, why is this story surfacing now? Who spread it first? What is the motive behind its spread? Some argue that the story is too neat to be spontaneous. From Jungkook's morally driven decision to Jimin's timely and emotional tears, everything seems arranged almost like a drama script. Is this coincidence? Or a scenario masterfully crafted by the agency, fan sites, or even media hungry for engagement? Most of the information sources about this incident don't come from official interviews or press releases from the South Korean military. Instead, they originate from viral TikTok clips, Twitter threads from unverified accounts, speculative YouTube comments, and recordings that lack full context. In journalism, such sources are called gray sources, material that cannot be directly categorized as hoaxes, but also aren't strong enough to be considered facts. So the question is, will you believe this emotional story just because it's widely talked about? In a world where viral news is often trusted more than official reports, the role of the public to think critically becomes crucial. Many ARMYs may say, I believe it because I know what Jungkook and Jimin are like. But how objective is that belief? Is it based on emotional closeness built over years, or truly on confirmed data and facts? If we're honest, we must admit one thing. We don't really know. There's no clear visual evidence showing Jungkook making the statement. No official recording or document from the military or Big Hit confirms that Jimin cried because of Jungkook's decision. So why is this story so widely accepted as truth? Are we longing so much for emotional interaction between BTS members that we begin to believe any narrative that fits our hopes?